It's that time again. It's time for a What's in the Bag with Adam Goodman, Team Discraft. I'm sitting here on the 5th tee of Fox Run Meadows Disc Golf Course in Smuggler's Notch, Vermont, here at Pro Master Worlds. Just finished day 4. Here at Smuggler's Notch, there's 2 courses, Brewster Ridge and Fox Run. They're both very different. However, they complement each other terrifically. Brewster is mostly a wooded course. Fox Run is mostly an open course. Okay, let's start with putters. I only carry 2 putters out here. I usually carry an overstable Challenger, and I didn't really need it. This is my main putter. It's a Jawbreaker Challenger, and I like to throw it for putts and also approaches. It was my main approach disc today because it held whatever angle I threw it on. It wouldn't flip. It basically just would go straight. I highly recommend it. It is firm yet super grippy. The other putter I carried, which I usually throw a lot, is the Swirl APX. The soft APX is the same disc. I don't know why. I would think I would use it a lot in the woods, but for the most part, I would use it just for long putts and jump putts. Next up is my ESP Comet. This Comet has been in the bag for a little while, so it's understable. It likes to flip over late. This is good for a lot of holes in Brewster. And I actually added an overstable Comet, which is also, it's like an old X Comet. And this is max weight, and it's just, it's 180, and for some reason it flies so straight. I've been able to throw it a lot because of how stable it is. It wouldn't flip on me. It's been really helpful this whole week. Next up is the Buzz. This is the first run Buzz I've had in the bag since 2003. It's still in the bag. I haven't lost it yet. And it's just, you know, it's sweet. What else do I need to say? Little hyzer flip to flat, glide, glide, glide. And new in the bag is a regular production run Z Buzz. Because it's new, it's much more overstable than the first run that I have, and I like to throw it for hyzer shots and overstable shots that want to work out to flat. I always have a Z Wasp in the bag. This is a 2004 4-point Z Wasp. It's my overstable mid-range. Sometimes I throw a Buzz OS in the bag. Didn't really need it this week, so I ended up not making the bag after the first round. And this holds up for good forehands as well as hyzer shots and turnover shots. It's basically just one step up from my Buzz. It's the next in stability. And then my final mid-range, of course, is the Z Zone. This is the Paul Macbeth, and you know how good this disc is. I don't really need to tell you anything about this. Just very reliable, great with the wind, great forehand, backhand. I also love that I can throw this as hard as I want, and it just doesn't go that far. It's great for upshots and super reliable. This is Z Glide. Didn't really use it much this week, but it's always been in my bag, and I love the feel. How this thing feels in the hand is great. It's sort of a glidey mid-range, but it's beveled edge, so it feels like a driver. It's great off the tee. Next up is my Z Avenger that I'm throwing. I've had the Z Avenger in the bag for over a decade. This is my roller disc. It's also my most understable disc. So if I want to throw a big hyzer flips, it's actually, this disc I threw a ton in the woods in Brewster because I like to throw a hyzer and have it unwind the whole way. Par 4 and the drive needs to be right all the way down and around the corner. And so instead of throwing a forehand, which I also is a possibility, I love to unwind and get super distance. I threw this a lot for second shots on some of the uphill par 4s here. It just has a really great turnover. New for Worlds, I thought I would throw an old school disc in. It's a Juliana Bauer XL Signature Series. You know, I know that these are out of production, but I figured in a course where I just want to throw it straight up the fairway and not have it slide out left or right like your high-speed drivers do, I thought this would just be a great addition, and in fact it was. This is actually what I consider one of my fairway drivers, even though I know way back when it used to be a world record holder with Scott Stokely. I have a DGA Rogue. This is my only DGA in the bag. I tried it after Mark Ellis said, hey, you should try the Rogue. It felt great in the hand, and it just has an awesome turn to it. I really like throwing the hyzer flips with it, and a lot of times you get just a beautiful glide. I would say the glide on the Rogue is special. Now to my longest disc in the bag. It's First Run Nuke. This is an old one. I cannot release this flat, it will flip over, but if I do hyzer flips, I get super distance out of that. And as a result, being here on some huge course like Smuggler's Notch, Fox Run, you need big distance, and you also need reliability because there's OB on both sides of the fairway. So I wanted to be able to trust a disc that went as far as the First Run Nuke. So I put a new First Run Nuke in the bag. And this one, I can flip it over and trust it. It's bizarre. I'm not used to it since most of mine are old, but I really love how reliable this is and how it has that huge distance that nukes get. I have a Z Avenger in the bag. I also consider this somewhat of a fairway driver. It does have a little bit of flip up, but this week I used it a lot from standstills, and I was able to put just a little bit of hyzer on there, and it would sort of work its way out and and just settle in really nice. But I did drive with it a few times too, and it's just a really good feeling hyzer flip to flat, maybe a little over if you want, but I don't get super distance out of it, but I like it. I have a big Z Undertaker in the bag. This disc, I threw this disc a lot this weekend because it's a fairway driver for me that just goes straight. And what else do you need? For me, if I just throw it flat, maybe tiny bit of anhyzer, it holds it, hits the gap, goes over the wall, safe, and finishes left. It's basically my complement to my Avenger because my Avenger will flip over a little more. This one doesn't really flip. It was really helpful on a lot of these holes here. Got a Z crank in the bag. This is a First Run Z crank that's been in the bag for a while. It's still pretty overstable. However, I can get it to flip up nicely. I would throw this in the same places where I might throw my Avenger, but to get more distance out of it because it's got the wider nuke style rim. My next disc is my Vulture. I like the reliability a lot. I threw it a ton where I just wanted to make sure I stayed inside the stakes and got to the point by the end of the week where I could turn it over just a little bit and get a full flex out of it, and I felt like the glide got longer and longer every time I threw it, and I feel like this is beating in to be a sweet permanent addition to the bag, the Big Z Vulture. Onto my Kongs. I carry two Kongs. This is a early test flight Kong that's been beat up a little bit. This is my flatter, longer Kong. It's not quite as overstable as the next one. Love the way this flies. I throw it forehand, I throw it backhand. And here's my other Kong. This one is domey, and it feels better than the other one because of the dome, in my opinion. But it's really good forehand. It goes a long way forehand. I can turn it over and it will fly. You know, you throw Kongs forehand. I know. And this is a great addition to the bag. I'm so happy they're making these. I'm sorry, not Kong. I think they were just renamed Zeus. This is my overstable Zeus. And then finally, I usually carry a Nuke OS because it's like the most overstable disc in the bag. And I know in the last What's in the Bag, I said everyone must have them. It's mandatory, and I don't have one. It was just it was like so overstable. I didn't really need it. I probably would have come in handy in some tricky situations in the woods, but this Team Stamp ESP Force, it's a beefy monster for me. I threw this so much this weekend. I don't consider myself a very forehand dominant player. I think I like mostly backhands if I can. But depending on your scenario and where you are with the OB, what hole, there's so many places where forehands come in handy, and I threw a bunch this week. And this Team Discraft ESP Force was beautiful because I could rely on it. I threw it backhand. I almost always release it anhyzer, whether it's forehand or backhand, just to get the carry out of it. But it was just so predictable how you can throw anhyzer, it'll ride anhyzer, finish out, and just settle in. It was just, I love this disc. All right. You've been watching Adam Goodman's What's in the Bag from 2019 here at Smuggler's Notch. It was a great week here at ProMaster Worlds. Special thanks to Discraft for their support over the past 16 years. It's been such a great year, and Discraft is making moves, and I can't wait to see where things go from here. Also, if you haven't already, you need to check out the Smuggler's Notch Vermont scene. There are so many fun things to do here, so much beautiful scenery, and incredible disc golf courses that are well designed, fair, and will test all parts of your game. You just get that epic feeling when you're here.